Namaskar. Good morning, everybody. Today I'm happy, really very happy to introduce one of my very dear friends and brothers, Swami Vimohananda Ji Maharaj, who is now head of the Vivekananda Vedanta Society of British Columbia. We have known each other for nearly 3 decades now, and on a personal level, he has been of great help to me during my days at Prabuddha Bharata in Mayavati, which I can't ever forget. And apart from that, he joined the order in 1988 and has received Mantra Diksha, Brahmacharya Diksha, and Sannyasa Diksha, all from most revered Bhuteshananda Ji Maharaj. But for the large part of his monastic career, for nearly 25 years, he has worked at Advaita Ashram, translating and editing several books. That apart, as a Swami, I'm very happy to say that he is good at whatever he does. So let's, that you can yourself see now how beautifully he sings. And on Wednesday he gave us a very nice class. So he is good at everything he does. He has also worked in a few other centers for short periods, Lucknow, Vrindavan, also in Mysore. So everywhere he has made a very good impression, has good friends who remember him even now. And today it is my fortune that I can welcome him and introduce him to you people. So he is going to give us a talk on the power and influence of thought according to Swami Vivekananda, which I am sure is going to be very interesting, and we are going to learn much today. Please, Vimohananda ji, welcome.
Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma sarupini Avatara Varisthaya Ramakrishnaya te Namah. Good morning and namaskar to everybody. So it has finally happened. I'm finally here. When all this planning was going on, I was really wondering whether I would be so privileged to be here one day and with our revered Bhasvatananji and be in the company of you all. So by God's grace, this has happened, and I'm really fortunate, and I hope that I may have future occasions also to be with you all. So let us start today's discussion. It is a part of Swami Vivekananda's Karma Yoga, where he explains the philosophy of how to convert work which naturally binds us into a instrument for God realization or freedom. So, without going into any preamble, let us go deep into this topic. We all know that many things happen in the world which we cannot see with these eyes, we cannot hear with our ordinary ears, and we all know about X-rays, infrared, all these things which we cannot see but we can detect with an instrument. So is the world of thoughts. We cannot see thoughts, but as we all know, they have the greatest influence and importance in our lives. And because we cannot see them, when we encounter some extraordinary phenomenon in the world, we term it as supernatural. So how powerful and almost miraculous some of these manifestations can be. I will just give you a small example. I will quote directly from Swami Vivekananda. And most of the discussion here, as is often I will be quoting from Swamiji, of course, but I will not say repeatedly quote unquote, it becomes tiresome. So this is Swami Vivekananda's own experience, and some of you may have read that. It is almost, you can say, too extraordinary to believe, but since it comes from his lips, we know that this actually happened. All over the world, there have been the belief in the supernatural through the ages. All of us have heard of extraordinary happenings, and many of us have had personal experience of them. I'll be telling you of certain facts which have come within my own experience, Swamiji. I once heard of a man who, if anyone went to him with questions in his mind, would answer them immediately. And I was also informed that he foretold events. I was curious to see him and went to him with a few friends. We each had something to ask, and to avoid mistakes, we wrote down our questions and put them in our pockets. As soon as the man saw one of us, he repeated our questions without even asking, without even seeing. He repeated the questions and gave answers to them. Then he wrote something on paper, which he folded up, asked each of them, Swamiji and his friends, to sign on the back so that it was the same paper they were confirmed, and put it in their pockets. He just said, don't look at it now. Put it in your pocket and keep it there till I ask for it again. He next told us about some events that would happen to us in the future. Then he said, now think of a word or a sentence from any language you like, any language on earth. Swamiji says, I thought of a long sentence from Sanskrit, a language of which he was entirely ignorant. Now, take out the paper from your pocket, he said. Swamiji took out the paper. The whole Sanskrit sentence was written there. He had written it an hour before with the remark, in confirmation of what I have written, this man will think of this sentence. It was correct. Another of us who had been given a similar paper which he had signed and placed in his pocket was also asked to think of a sentence. He thought of a sentence in Arabic, which it was still less possible for the man to know. It was some passage from the Quran. And here also, my friend found this letter written down on the paper. So in very remote times in India, so I say Swamiji, thousands of years ago, these facts used to happen even more than they do today. from this we can make out the realm of thoughts and what tremendous power, what influence it can exert in our lives. And of course, this is from Karma Yoga, you see, so all the yogas we know are practiced here in the mind. The physical body just manifests the actions, but the source is always the mind. All of the yogas, without exception, are simply training of the mind. How to think, what to think, how to put those thoughts in actions. That is what yoga is all about. So today in this discussion, we will discuss three main topics which are within Karma Yoga. How thoughts act and react upon each other. Secondly, how they gain strength from each other. And of course, how they regulate our physical activities. So there is immense practical use in gaining this knowledge, because we will also learn how to avoid being susceptible to inimical thoughts which are harmful to us, and also gain from the thoughts which are around us. So we will see all these things. Now, about the thoughts acting and reacting upon each other, we all know that Newton's third law of motion. Each action has an opposite and equal reaction. So this acts in the physical world, but as we said, we are dealing with a subtler world, the world of thoughts. But here also, we may not know that this action and reaction is as good as in the physical world. It is a part of the law of causation. We cannot see this world, the world of thoughts. So the only way in which we can gain any knowledge about this world is through the teachings of saints and sages like Swamiji and others. We can only infer the presence of thoughts. We can infer, of course, because we know. First, when we think, I want to eat, then only I get up and eat. First I think, I want to sit down, then I sit down. So all these things are there. We know that something precedes our actions, and that is our thinking. So by inference we can know. But from that method we cannot know all that goes on here. Now Swami Vivekananda says that just as every action that emanates from us comes back to us as a reaction, even so, our thoughts also may act upon others. And he gives this example. Perhaps all of you have observed it as a fact then that when a person starts doing some bad actions, he slowly increases that. I mean, he becomes more and more evil, so to say, if he doesn't check that tendency in time. But if a person starts doing good, if he keeps on progressing, then he slowly becomes more and more a better person. And those who have read some literature in this field know that when a person commits a crime for the first time, for example, their experiences on record, they say that they have felt very bad. First time stealing, first time doing something. Second time when they did not feel so bad. Third time even less. Then slowly it became a habit with them. So this holds good for good actions as well as evil actions. Now one reason we know, all of you have heard so much, read so much. So one reason we know, that is the reason of sanskaras. Each thought we think leaves an impression on the mind. And that impression goads us to do similar actions. So I won't go into that because I'm sure all of you know. But Another reason which we may not know, at least I had no idea before I read Swamiji, is why this is happening. A person does evil, he starts doing more and more evil. A person does good, he starts doing more and more good. Another reason for that. What is that? That we can act and react upon each other. You can act upon me, I can act upon you. External influences are coming into play here. First is just my sanskara. That is enough to guide a lot of our actions. But here, an external influences are also there. People are actually acting upon us. And we are also acting upon them. How? It seems very strange. But Swamiji, as usual, he gives a brilliant explanation for all these things. He says, take an example, illustration from physical science. When I do a certain action, my mind may set to be in a certain state of vibration. So you know, thought are represented by waves, like in physics. So in waves, there are two things, as we know. First is the frequency of the wave. Second is the amplitude of the waves, how strong it is. So, taking this example, he says, when I do a certain action, my mind may be said to be in a certain state of vibration. Now, all minds which are in similar circumstances will have a tendency to be influenced by my mind. How? Very simple. He makes it very simple. The principle of resonance. We all know what is the principle of resonance. If there are different musicals tuned alike in one room, all of you may have noticed that when one is struck, the others have the tendency to vibrate so as to give the same note. That is the principle of resonance. To define, it is the occurrence of a vibrating object causing another object to vibrate. And it happens when the frequency of the initial object's vibration matches the frequency of the second object. Now, this happens on the mental level also. Because we should not forget, mind is, after all, matter. Though it is very subtle, but it is matter, and all matter is under law. So, all minds which have the same tension, so to say, same frequency, so to say, will be equally affected by the same thought. All those who think alike will be equally affected by the same thought, in very simple language. So from this we can understand why do saints and sages influence those persons more who are habitually good by nature. Because their frequency in which they think are similar to the frequency of these saints. So naturally, the teachings find a resonance in their own minds. Of course, the influence of thought, this influence will vary according to first the distance and other causes also, how the powerful the thoughts are. Something you can just imagine the Wi-Fi signal ours. So if the tower is very far away, naturally you won't get a good signal. And your instrument also should be ready to receive the signal. So both these factors are there. But there is no denying the fact that the mind is always open to influence, always. Suppose I am doing an evil act, my mind is in a certain state of vibration, and all the minds which my mind can reach, which are in a similar state, have the possibility of being affected by the vibration of my mind. Similarly, when I am doing a good action, my mind is in another state of vibration, and all minds similarly strung have the possibility of being affected by my mind. And this power of mind upon mind is more or less according as the force of thoughts is greater or less. So thoughts have this power, and the more powerful they are, the more they can influence us. In evil also there may be power. We should not think that how can thoughts of an evil person have power. They can have power. They also can accumulate power, but problem is they don't use it properly. So even in our Puranas, Hiranyakashipu, all that, father of Prahlada, he was a tremendously powerful person. He had performed austerities, gained power. Brahma came, but he did not ask that I should benefit people by my power. He only asked to use that power for his selfish interest. So it is not that evil cannot be powerful, it can be quite powerful. Now, when this being the case, we can understand that great personalities influence us more because of the great power which they have accumulated. So when Swami Vivekananda stood up at the Parliament of Religions, so before anywhere in the world, many people have been applauded, many people have been praised. But have you seen another case where a person has not even started speaking? After speaking, you will applaud, you will appreciate what he has not even started. He has just said one sentence. And people have gone practically crazy. How can you explain that? The tremendous power which emanated from the man, although people could not grasp what it is, though undefinable, it was something so strong that nobody could hold himself under that influence. So that is a most concrete example in the present age of this power acting. But again, on the other side, there may be some persons, I'm just telling the extremes. On one side, of course, these people are there. Other side, a person may be, as Sri Ramakrishna says, like the crocodile's hide. You may pierce it with a spear, but you cannot penetrate. For example, the example of Mahabharata, Duryodhana. So he may said to be something like that. So when Sri Krishna went for the final attempt, that make them understand, make peace, Duryodhana wanted to imprison him. And when Sri Krishna showed his Vishwarupa, Duryodhana thought it was some kind of magic. So those examples are there, but generally we have the tendency of influencing others and also being influenced by others on the mental level. Now Swami Vivekananda says, following this simile further, it is quite possible that just as light waves may travel for millions of years before reaching any object, so thought waves also may travel for a great length of time, maybe hundreds of years, before they meet an object with which they vibrate in unison. They'll be absorbed. So Swamiji says nothing can destroy these thought waves till they are absorbed. So then what remains for this conclusion from this? The conclusion he reaches is, then this atmosphere of ours may be full of such thought pulsations, both good and evil. In places like this it will be very good, but in some other places it may be evil thought may be there. So every thought projected from the brain goes on pulsating, as it were, until it meets a fit object that will receive it. This may have sounded strange some years ago, but now we are all familiar with this Wi-Fi and all that. So we know this room is full of such signals, and they are absorbed as soon as we connect an instrument with them, which can absorb them. So any instrument fit to receive these thoughts will immediately absorb them. So what happens here? Swamiji says, just imagine what is happening. When a man is doing evil actions, he has brought his mind to a certain state of tension. And all the waves around him, which are in the same state of tension, will struggle to enter his mind because he is making his mind fit to receive them. And that is why a man who does evil continues to do evil. Why? Because all the evil tendencies are entering into his mind. He cannot stop them now. He has brought his mind to a certain level, he cannot stop them. So if we do good, the same thing will happen. We bring our mind to a certain level. So all good thoughts around us, we don't have to make any special effort. All good thoughts around us will enter our mind. And immediately by that power, we will continue to do good actions. So now we understand, when we read this explanation of Swami Vivekananda, now we understand why the scriptures tell us to avoid evil company in any form at all. Maybe at the beginning we may be able to resist, but slowly what will happen, we will succumb, we may succumb to those influences, and once it happens, all similar evil thoughts will enter our mind. And without knowing, Sri Ramakrishna says, no, in Fort William you go down. But only when you reach the bottom, the slope is such, in the beginning you don't realize you are going down. Only when you have reached the bottom, you see how far have I come. So, even persons leave alone persons. We should even avoid those places in which people are doing some unholy activities. Because those places will be full of those mental vibrations. Immediately, now when we come here, when we come to the ashrama, when we come to the shrine, why do we feel peace? Now we understand. This is not imaginary. This is not because just Thakur's photo is there, Thakur's image is there. No. It is palpable. Because persons who come here are thinking good thoughts. Their thought vibrations are all around us. We are also coming with one good motive, with devotion. So without our knowing, we will progress. Because all these good impressions will themselves make their way into our minds. So that is the secret, one of the reasons for building places of worship. Other things are of course there. Clean, purity, God's image reminds us of God. These are there. But this may be one of the most important. We are directly benefiting. Palpably, immediately we can make out the change which comes in our mind when we enter these places. Over time, this gets more condensed because more and more people are coming here. The more and more thoughts will be vibrating here. So, one thing we may not realize, that this thing which we cannot see, thoughts, have tremendous power. And immediately we think, what kind of power it can have when we cannot see? But just because we cannot see makes them more powerful. How? Again, I'll come to Swamiji. He says, the greatest power is derived from the power of thought. Why? The finer the element, the more powerful it is. Sukshma. The finer the element, the more powerful it is. I will quote him one passage verbatim. The greatest power is lodged in the fine, not in the coarse or gross. We see a man, all these bodybuilders, we see them lifting huge weights. We see the muscles swell, and all over the body we see signs of exertion and all that. And we think, oh, these muscles have great power. These are the most powerful things in his body. Swamiji says, no. It is the thin thread-like things, the nerves, which carry the power to the muscles. The moment one of these threads is cut off from reaching the muscles will not be able to work. These tiny nerves bring the power from something still finer, and that again brings the power from something finer still. So it is the fine that is really the seat of power. But the fine things we cannot see. We can only see when they become gross, and we think the power lies in the gross. Not at all. When a gross thing moves, we catch it, but we cannot see the movement in the fine, because the movement is so intense that we cannot perceive it. But if by any science or investigation we are helped to get hold of these finer forces, we will be able to palpably see. And these yogis like Swami Vivekananda, who have that insight, they could see those forces working. We only perceive thoughts after they develop a great deal, after they become actions. But we do not see when they start their influence, start to rise like a bubble from a lake, Swamiji says. A bubble just rising you cannot see, you see it only when it has become a wave. But it has come from a very fine state. So, how can thoughts of someone else influence you or me? We have seen. Now, another reason which Swamiji gives. One is we know, we bring our minds to a particular state of vibration. All the thoughts which are pulsating here, which have the same vibration, will struggle to enter our minds. But this is not the only reason why thoughts of others can influence us. What is the second reason? He says, the mind is one as well as many. This seems strange. How can something be one as well as many? Swamiji does not give a concrete example here, so I was racking my brains thinking what example can be. So something may be similar, some example. One example which came to my mind. If we say air, is it one or many? But it is many also. Because don't we say the air in this room? Don't we see the air, say that the air in the dining room? Suppose some smell is there, incense sticks, wonderful smell is there. We say the smell is in the air in this room. It is not there in the air outside the room. So air is one or many? The answer may have to be, it is one as well as many. Although it seems to be divided, for practical purpose it is divided, but you cannot really divide air. This may help us understand how minds can be one as well as many. So our scriptures say, although our minds are separate to some extent, but there is something known as the cosmic mind also. And one example Swami Vivekananda gives, that this universe is connected. The whole universe is connected. He gives the examples of a cobweb. A spider has made a cobweb which we have to clean regularly. So he says, imagine the universe is a cobweb, connected in all parts. And minds are the spiders. So minds are going from here to there. And we can say, how can the mind have access to everything? We cannot go everywhere without the help of an aeroplane or train something. How can the mind have access to all places? Again, we have to go back. We should not forget that the subtler the object is, not only is it more powerful, but it is all pervasive. More pervasive. So suppose we drop a glass of maybe something which breaks, porcelain or something. So we will receive a scolding from the head Swami. But if we spill a whole bucket of water, then we will have you will know if you do it. Why? Because the water will spread everywhere. The glass may be limited here, because it is a gross thing. But water will spread everywhere. The air will spread even further. It may go to the next room also. So the subtler the object is, not only is it more powerful, but it is also more pervasive. Therefore, because the mind is so subtle, probably maybe the subtlest kind of matter which exists in the universe, because no instrument can detect the thought waves. So it can be all pervasive, it can go anywhere. And great people have that power to send their thoughts at a great distance. And it is proved beyond doubt that telepathy is a fact. So all minds are connected. See, as soon as you say that one mind can have influence on another mind, it is as good as saying that the minds are connected. Because if something is completely unconnected to each other, it can never influence each other. If something has no connection, how will it influence? In what will it influence? Through what will it influence? So when you say that the mind can influence other minds, from that very statement, it is proved that the minds of all of us are connected in some way or the other. I again quote him, "This mind is a part of the universal mind. Each mind is connected with every other mind. And each mind, wherever it is located, is in actual communication with the whole world." It may seem difficult to believe in our present state, but it is true, because Swamiji has said this. Have you ever noticed the phenomenon that is called thought transference? A man here is thinking something, and that thought is manifested in somebody else, in some other place. With preparations, a man can send a thought to another mind at a distance. And this other mind can know that thought is coming and can receive it exactly as it is sent out. In very powerful persons, distance makes no difference. The thought goes, reaches the other man, and he understands it. Naturally, from this it follows that if your mind was an isolated something, my mind was an isolated something, there and here, this, if there was no connection, this was not going to be possible. How would it be possible for my thoughts to reach you if there was no connection between the minds? So this proves that there is continuity of the mind, as yogis call it. The mind is universal. Your mind, my mind, all these little minds, he says, are fragments of that universal mind, little waves in the ocean, and on account of this continuity, we can convey our thoughts directly to one another. And he gives such simple examples. That is, Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, Swamiji. They give the simplest of examples so that we can easily understand. So in one of his lectures, he said simply, what is happening here? He said, I am talking to you this evening and it is producing thoughts in your brain. What can be more greater proof that my thoughts are being transferred to you? Spoken words, he says, are just the vehicles. This A, B, C, D, these pronunciations, they are simply the vehicles. But what is actually going are the thoughts. What is important, he says, is the power of thought behind them. Words are just the medium. Hundreds and thousands of people like us can say sisters and brothers of America, SISTERS, etc. Nothing will happen. People may go to sleep. But when Swami Vivekananda said, there was such a tremendous manifestation of energy. So these words are just the vehicles. It may be a Tesla like Swami Vivekananda's, it may be like just a rickshaw puller. But what is important is the power behind those thoughts. By this act of transmission, Swamiji says that I am speaking to you, thoughts are being created in your brain. We understand that my thoughts are being transmitted into your brain and your mind and producing other thoughts. This is an everyday fact of life. So transference of thought is perfectly understandable. And he goes to say, our bodies, our virtues, our intellect and our spirituality, all these are thus continuously influencing others. And conversely, we are being influenced by them. This is going on all around us. And he gives a concrete example. A man comes, a great scholar, very learned, very beautiful language. He speaks for hours, but he doesn't make any impression. Another man comes, he speaks just a few words, maybe grammatically also incorrect, but he makes a tremendous impression. What great scholarship Sri Ramakrishna had, simplest of Bengali language, what is called Grammu Bhasha in Bengali they say, local dialect, nothing more. But one sentence could change the whole life. So, words alone cannot make an impression. Words, even thoughts, contribute only 1/3 of the influence in making an impression. But the personality of the man is 2/3 responsible. What you call the personal magnetism of the man, that is what comes out and impresses us. And the great teachers of religion, they were all simple people. Some exceptions were there, of course, great scholars like Shankaracharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they were also there, but majority will find that they were simple people in terms of secular learning. Mirabai, Tukaram, Gyandev, etc. What special scholarship they had, but they influenced thousands of people. So, this is the power of the religious teachers, and this is the reason. The difference was made by their personality. This personality, Swami Vivekananda says, is like a torch which goes around lighting the torch of others. And the higher the person rises, the more powerful are his thoughts. His mind has accumulated power and he can transmit that. So now the question comes, when this is the case, the goal of our life is also spiritual development. Spiritual development cannot take place without accumulation of power. Not the power to hold some post and position. This is the power which mind has over mind. That power. For example, if someone wants to be an athlete, someone wants to be a weightlifter, he has to make his muscles powerful, no? Otherwise, how can he do that? So here also, when we are dealing with the mind, the whole course of sadhana is making our minds pure as well as powerful. If it is not powerful, then it will not be able to withstand any influence. Someone will come, tell us, oh, a new cannabis store has come. Come here with me, and we will go and follow him. Because we don't know, we don't have the power to resist. What happens in schools and colleges, where generally some bad habits are picked up. 10 boys are there, another boy is there, he is being left out. Why? Those 10 are smoking and he doesn't smoke, so they make fun of him. Oh, you fellow, you sissy, you don't smoke. So if his mind is not powerful, what will happen? Oh no. What will they think of me? I will be left out. I will be excluded. People will think badly of me. He also starts with it. Then he cannot stop. So to stand on our own feet, the mind has to be very powerful. We should know how to accumulate that power. Swami Vivekananda comes to our rescue. How to get this power, which will help us make spiritual progress? He says, every act of restraint, every act of self-control helps to accumulate power. That is why there are so many regulations, so many strict rules for those who have devoted themselves exclusively to spiritual life. You cannot do anything you like. You have to give up some things altogether. That tremendous restraints has to be practiced throughout the life, not 1 day, 2 days. Why? Because that will help a spiritual aspirant accumulate power, and he can use that power for his spiritual growth. So this is the power behind thoughts, one mind influencing one upon another. And he says, Swamiji says, who really know the power of thought? The highest men, men who have realized God. They know the power of thought, and they are sure that even if they go into a cave and close the door and just simply think 5 thoughts and then pass away, those 5 thoughts of theirs will live through eternity. They will go help people, those who are ready to receive them, and make them progress towards God. They will enter deep into human hearts and brains and raise up men and women who will then give those thoughts practical expression. So this is how these prophets help us. Incarnations of God help us. They have thought those powerful thoughts, and even after hundreds of years, thousands of years, we are deriving inspiration from the Bible, from the Gita, from all these wonderful teachings. So, what is the practical implication? For conclusion, all these discussions, what is the practical implication in our lives? Again, Swamiji says, what follows from all this? 2 things we have to first of all remember. Always remember that we run a 2-fold danger in doing evil. We say, no, it is my life, I can do whatever I like. It is not true. Your mind is not only your mind, it is connected to every other mind. We should never forget that. Your life is not only your life. So he says, always remember that there is a 2-fold danger in doing anything bad. First, we will open ourselves to evil influences around us. Secondly, we will create evil. We will create badness. And that we never know who it will affect, whose brain and mind it will enter. Maybe hundreds of years may go, we don't know. But if we harm that person by our thought, we have to suffer the consequences. The law of karma has to be there, today or tomorrow. So in doing evil, we injure ourselves and others also. But positive side is, in doing good, we do good to ourselves and others as well. And like all other forces in man, these forces of good and evil also gather strength from outside because of this action and reaction. So we should know that just because we cannot see thoughts, we can just see actions. Actions are everything. No. Doing is good. Doing is the final stage. But that comes from thinking. Without thought, how can there be action? Little manifestations of energy through the muscles are called work. But if there is no thought, there will be no work. There cannot be work. So what should we do? He says, fill the mind therefore with high thoughts, highest ideals. Place them day and night before you, and out of that will come great work. We should never forget what is called the power of association. Why all these images? of saints and sages. Why all those pictures outside? Without our knowing, as soon as we see one picture, by the power of association, all other surrounding images will arise in our mind. Just see the Dakshineshwar temple picture. Immediately, without anyone telling us, the thought of Sri Ramakrishna will come. That he is worshipping, he did so many things there. So unknowingly, we will be thinking good thoughts just by that symbol. All these things, all these helps, we should take help of all these things so that day and night the brain is full of these noble thoughts, and out of that will come great work. Similarly, bad thoughts are also everywhere. Go outside, immediately you'll be bombarded with this advertisement, that advertisement, all these things. Switch on the TV, bas, you had it. So it is not that we can just accumulate some thoughts and go and feel ourselves safe and do whatever we like. No. As soon as we let the guard down, those thoughts are also ready to invade us. So no holiday here. If we really want to make spiritual progress. The friends are also there as in the form of good thoughts, but our enemies are also always alert in the form of bad thoughts, like harmful microbes surrounding us. So in COVID, what was the cure which they gave? What did doctors say? Not isolation only, make the body strong. You cannot stop the passage of these germs. Make yourself strong so that you are not so much immune to them. So, this is true of thoughts, this action and reaction, and this is also true of gross actions, actions of the body as actions are produced from thoughts. So according to Karma Yoga, the action one has done cannot be destroyed till it is borne fruit. No power in nature can stop it from yielding its result. If I do an evil action, I must suffer for it. There is no power in the universe to stop or stay it. Similarly for good thoughts. The cause must have its effect. Nothing can prevent or restrain this. So this is where it all leads to. Thoughts, action, under law, cause and effect, and whether we'll be doing good to ourselves or harming us. So it is all coming from that very deep level which we cannot see, but which is the most powerful. So the goal of this discussion to end is only one, to train our minds by understanding these laws of thoughts. The yogis claim that they have discovered these laws which develop our character, and by proper attention to those laws and methods, each one can grow and purify himself. This is one of the great practical things, and this is the secret of all education. And this has a universal application in the life of the householder, the poor, the rich, the man of business, the spiritual man, in everyone's life. It is this great thing, to understand these laws which govern the world of thought, which are behind the physical law, and learn to make the best use of the power which we have to do good to ourselves as well as to the world, and thus slowly reach the goal, the one and only goal of human life. The rousing up of divinity which is latent in each one of us, this also is called attaining freedom, or you can say realization of God. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. So is there any question answer or no?
Thank you very much, Vimohananda ji, for this beautiful talk. So simple, everything was clear and understandable, in spite of the subject being so profound. I think that is one of his strengths. After listening to 2 talks, yeah, he has this ability to explain deep truths, spiritual principles in a clear, understandable way. So actually that what one is comes out in whatever one does. So that is an indication. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. We didn't know how 1 full hour went by. So I hope you will keep coming to us and addressing us at least once a year. Now Vimohananda ji will himself sing another closing song. And after that, we all go downstairs and have some refreshments. And the next Sunday, most likely, our Atmajnanananda ji Maharaj will give a talk. But for the subject and all, we'll have to wait until he comes back. Please keep checking our website. And thank you all for coming, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. Thank you very much.